It is time. I am finally showing you my sewing books. I've been talking this video up for a really long time, so I hope you all like it. I hope it doesn't disappoint. So I determined all my sewing books fall into 3 categories: pattern drafting, pattern fitting, and techniques. There's also a subcategory in techniques, which could be called specialty techniques, but we'll get to that when we get to that section. So the one thing I hope you take away from this video, and the one reason I am such an advocate for sewing books, is because if you are a self-taught sewist, you probably only learn like 1 or 2 ways how to do something, and these books, it's kind of like school in a book, basically. It teaches you the foundations of things and why certain techniques are actually useful. They may seem a little harder, but they really do enhance your sewing game, and it teaches you a variety of approaches and methods to do things, and it really helps build your foundational skills, and in the end, it can really take your sewing from homemade to handmade. So the first category of my sewing books is pattern making. So I have 3 pattern making books. I have the Winifred Aldrich metric pattern cutting for women's wear, 6th edition. This is the latest edition, I believe. I have the Draping for Apparel design by Helen Joseph Armstrong. And then I also have Pattern Making for Fashion Design by Helen Joseph Armstrong. Now these 2 are typically the most recommended books when you're looking up pattern drafting, pattern making, flat patterning specifically. So some skills they teach you is how to make a sloper or a bodice block, how to modify that sloper into different designs. I will say the 2 books very clearly came out during different time periods just by the style of the designs, but there's excellent basics in there. It will also teach you how to pattern draft by hand, so not on Illustrator, so you can draw and map out your patterns and modify them that way. For me, I like flat patterning more than draping. I do see the pros to both, but if you don't have a mannequin or a dress form, draping, you have to drape on yourself, which is kind of difficult to do if that's not beginner friendly. But I would say these books are beginner friendly and teaching you the techniques, even the draping one. I know sometimes these are also used as textbooks in schools, so that's why they're so highly reviewed and highly regarded. I personally prefer, if I had to give you a top recommendation, it'd be The Fashion Design by Helen Joseph Armstrong. I know a lot of people like this one, but this one to me just has so many more designs you can turn your sloper into. You can kind of create anything with this dress, or anything with this book. The Winifred Aldrich one is just a bit more old school, and the designs does have some good base patterns in there, but a bit more current styles is definitely the Helen Joseph Armstrong one. And the draping one, you do need a dress form that fits you. My dress form is a little off, but it has helped me figure out some things you just have to drape. You cannot flat pattern it, and so it's helpful to know that up front before putting yourself through the struggle of trying to flat pattern it, and just teaches you new things. So those are my pattern making books. So I have 6 pattern fitting books. I did not know I had 6 until I counted them just now. I'm a little shocked by that. I do use all of them though. And pattern fitting books are great because there's typically 2 techniques to do it. You can do a tissue fit, or you can make a toile. I'm a toile girl, as you know, only because I don't like cutting my patterns. I usually trace them if they're tissue. And the biggest thing I've learned from my books is that the wrinkles point towards the problems. And the books have really helped me because if you're new to sewing, like when I was, some issues I would think, for example, would be a bust fitting issue, when actually I needed to add more room in the side seam, or do a full belly adjustment, or adjust my shoulders. And the pattern fitting books just tell you all the possible fit issues because of that wrinkle or because of that area, versus the one issue you may think it is, or you may not know because you're new. And it just helps give you all this information up front, so you're not just Googling and trying to YouTube randomly and you're just lost and get frustrated and not finding the answer. The answers are all told up front in here. That's what I said. It's like sewing school in a book. Fashion school in a book. Okay, so let's get into the books I have. I have the Palmer Plush series, a couple of their books. So I have Pants for Real People. I love this book. This has made me so confident in fitting pants. If you have spent any time on this channel, you know whenever I make shorts, I usually use my own block because it fits me so well. That is because of this book and another one that we'll get into, but this is wonderful. As well as the complete guide to fitting. Now, this one is really good. It does not go into nearly as much detail as the pants specific one. Let me just say up front. But this one is really good. I do think that I would probably get the body specific ones in the future just because I know how much more detail they go into. I will say with this series, the language is a bit outdated. For example, they say things like, she's slim, so she has the perfect ideal body. And you're just like, well, girl. So you have to kind of put that aside. They are also into tissue fitting, which I don't do. I am a toile fitting girl. But if you want to learn how to do that, you can learn from these books. Now, yes, it does save you a little work up front, but I trace my patterns because what if my size changes? This is assuming that you'll make the perfect block from the tissue and your size will never change, I guess. So that's the only thing with that. The second most helpful book is Ahead of the Curve. Now, she is Cashmerette, and if you've been on her blog, she does have a lot of this information, but it's also really nice to just have it all in one book. This is the second book that really helped me fit pants and also teaches me how to do adjustments pretty quickly and less complicated. And she works on a mock-up or a toile versus the other one's tissue fitting. Now, this one's nice because it's made for curvier bodies, like I'm an hourglass shape, and the pictures represent that, and so you can see how things are going to look on a body like yours. It does come with, I think, 10 patterns in the back, 5 patterns. I cannot fit those because they're all a plus size range, but I still think this book is worth it just for the information alone that it provides. Next, we have my Singer books. You're going to see a lot of Singer books in this video, but we'll start with these two. So I have The Perfect Fit and I have Sewing Pants That Fit. I'm going to be honest, if I didn't own those other books, I would think these were really helpful, but because I own the other ones, I don't necessarily need these. But I got them anyway because they also have other tips about like interfacing, different ways to do certain pattern adjustments and more pictures of them, which I really love. So they're helpful in that sense. And then if you're doing tailoring, they have tailoring techniques with the pants one. So these are not must-haves since I have these. But if you didn't have those, these would be really good ones. But I love the Singer Sewing Book series, and you'll see more of that in a little bit. And then my last one is the Complete Photo Guide to Perfect Fitting. This one's nice because it's all pictures. There's no drawings, and it teaches you how to make the adjustment on toiles, and it shows you every angle so you can see how to move things around. And I like this book, but also think it could be better. So it is really great in showing you how to do the mods, and this one actually taught me the order to do my pattern modifications in. But some things I wish it would expand upon, like jackets more. It focuses a lot on the bodice block, which is important, but it's also, you know, we're not just bodices. And I wish it expanded upon that. But the visuals and the way it teaches you to correct those things are really great, and I do recommend it. The 2 books I would recommend the most, if you had to pick any of the pattern fitting books, are Ahead of the Curve and the Pletsch. I feel like I'm saying that wrong. But the Pletsch series books. Those, you'll be set to figure out how to pattern fit correctly. Okay, my last category of sewing books is techniques. I'm going to start with overall techniques and then specialty techniques. So overall, I have the Reader's Digest Complete Guide to Sewing. I have the old one and I have the new one. And I have thoughts. Up front, the old one is better. I'm just going to say it. Like, I got the new one to compare because I didn't know there was a new one, but I wanted to see if the people online were correct, and they are. Honestly, if there's one book you get from this whole video, I would recommend finding this one in a used bookstore or going online because I know they still have it. And I think I paid like $12 for this. These books are wonderful. They are like an encyclopedia for sewing. Teaches you all the types of interfacing, all the types of needles, why you need certain needles for certain fabrics, different ways to do closures, different ways to do plackets, different ways to finish seams, why different stitch lengths matter, what all the supplies you might need for sewing in general, like what it is, what it exists, like certain things I didn't learn what a clapper was until last year. Clappers are in here. It is just a wealth of information, and I used to read this as my bedtime reading before I finished the book. They are so good. Now, why do I like the old one versus the new one more? The old one just lays out the information a lot better. The new one, it still has the categories, but it's like little snippets and not dedicated sections. And the old one has it like, here are stitches. Here are all the hand stitches. Here are the hand stitches that we would consider decorative. Here are the hand stitches you would use for seam binding. Here are the ones for hemming. And the other one's like, here's a picture of a dress. And then at the bottom, it's like hemming hand stitch. And I just don't like that. I don't think that's very helpful. But they're really good. Like, I was blown away by the wealth of information. And I think one time I was having to do a sleeve placket. I could not understand what the instructions are saying. This one, they said, here's how you do a sleeve placket. It also has like, here's how you do a welt pocket. And here's why you should do pad stitching with canvas interfacing on a tailored jacket versus fusible interfacing. Like, just a wealth of information. Okay, I've stand long enough, but the Reader's Digest books, very good. The new one, I would just say, has actual color photos in it versus drawings. The old one has some pictures, but it has mostly drawings. And it has like updated tools because it was made more recently. And I think this one was finished in the 80s. Okay, specialty techniques. Okay, so the Singer Intro series, I have a lot of Singer sewing books. You have Sewing Secrets 101, Sewing Essentials, and Time-Saving Sewing Techniques. What's cool about these is there's no overlap of information, so it's all new information. And it does teach you the basics and foundations of sewing and how to do little things that make it go from homemade to handmade. So if you consider yourself a beginner and you want to learn more skills, like I didn't know that you should be using different size sewing needles for different fabrics when I first started out. And these go over that. I would say these are the Reader's Digest ones broken down into less information. Still encyclopedia types, but just less information. These are old, the pictures. They're like from the 80s. I'm just going to put that out there. But the information is still very useful. Next up, we have my couture books. So I have some of the Claire Schaefer books. I have Couture Sewing Techniques by Claire B. Schaefer and High Fashion Sewing Secrets from the World's Best Designers by Claire B. Schaefer. She has another one that is, it's like about women's tailoring for like Chanel jackets and whatnot. Let me rank them real quick. This is not beginner friendly. If you are a new sewist, you could get this book to eventually learn these things, but this doesn't, it says it has more pictures and photos in it, but if you are a visual learner, this book is hard to get through, but the information is so good. And this one is definitely more beginner friendly, and it's a bit more like, this is a good book because it pulls back the curtain on some of the secrets from those high fashion houses, especially with American tailoring or Europeans. It's like, it kind of helps you with the, this is how we do a zipper on a dress that costs $500. Or this is how you do a hem on a silk scarf that costs $1,000. And it helps you understand more, but also it's nice to just learn about those techniques. And it has visuals and shows you how to do it. So that's why I like this one. This one, the first time I got it, I didn't like it because it wasn't what I thought it was, but now that I understand the purpose of this book, I actually do find it very helpful. So this also teaches you about things like waist stays, hand overcasting, which is a thing they do in like haute couture gowns. When I say haute couture, I mean those people who, if you watch any of the fashion documentaries, those people who have the ateliers and like those ultra rich people who go and like their whole wardrobe is custom made Versace. This is how they're finishing those garments. They tell you all the things in here. So this is cool for that sense. There's a lot of hand sewing. And I remember I got a comment once that was like, how do you know when to hand sew and when to not? And it's like, sometimes I hand sew because I know the result's going to come out better. And I learned how to do it from this book and the other Claire B. Schaefer book. And it has different hand sewing techniques on how to do all the things. So when you want to up your game, start looking into Claire B. Schaefer. And then to niche down even further in my specialty techniques category, I don't even know how to describe this, is my specific encyclopedias for certain things. What I mean by that, just hoisted these on my lap. All right, I have the Singer Sewing book for sewing active wear. So this is like windbreaker jackets, sweatpants, workout clothing, sweat shorts, things like that. How to sew that. Sewing lingerie, also a Singer Sewing book. How to sew silks and knits and panties. And this does not go into bras, but slips, lingerie, pajamas, things like that. Tailoring. Actually, I have 2 tailoring books. These teach you just so much I didn't know about tailoring. If you follow Julia Bobbins, she recommended these, and so I bought them both. And it just teaches you about the type of material to use, the type of interfacing to use, shoulder pads, sleeve heads, type of needles, how to mark your fabric, things like that, and then how to fit it correctly and how to toile it correctly. All of those things are in these 2 books. This one does have a lot of black and white drawings and photos in it, just FYI. But the information here is really good. They also have one for men's tailoring, but this one's specific to women's tailoring. And then I have sewing with knits. And it's not just sewing with knits on a serger and bust it out. It's like sewing with knits, and here's 4 different ways to insert an elastic waistband. Or here's how you do inseam pockets or a welt pocket on a knit. Or here's how to make a t-shirt and expand the size and do adjustments on it. All of these have a wealth of information for that specific subject they are talking about. Then I also have more sewing for the home as well as sewing for the home. This is things like how to make curtains, how to make pillows, how to make cushions like box cushions with piping and other things. I'm not doing too much of that right now, but I do have some plans in the future, and so that's why I bought these. We are running out of space on this couch. This one's really good. Sewing with the overlocker. This one teaches you how to sew an entire garment on your overlocker and different ways to do different finishes. I've heard that there are people who make everything on their overlocker, but I never understood how. This book teaches you how. Also, yes, I do still have the price tag on a lot of these. I wasn't going to return them, so I don't know why I haven't taken them off yet, but those are there. These 2, sewing specialty fabrics and then sewing for special occasions. So this one's bridal, prom, and evening dresses. This comes in handy when I make my fancy dresses and my ball gowns, just different fitting techniques as well as ways to sew those garments. And then I also have specialty fabrics. So this isn't just, a lot of times you think like ball gowns when you think specialty fabrics, but this also has like fur, leather, suede. It does have the slinky stuff and a couple others I can't remember off the top of my head, but it tells you like what size needle you need, what type of stitches you should do, how to cut it, how to interface it, things like that. And then my last one is upholstery basics. Now, if you are an OG, you know that my channel started with home decor DIYs, and there is a chair that I reupholstered 3 times. I wish I had this book because I was YouTubing and searching galore back in the day, and this book has everything that I would have needed to know. I'm not reupholstering that chair, but I am looking at a chair right now that I'm thinking about reupholstering, and so that is why I picked this one up as well as the Sewing for the Home book because that's going to be a big undertaking. I will film it if I do it, but I haven't decided. I will say overall my technique books taught me so much information. They really are what took my sewing from homemade to handmade, because it just taught me a different way to do things. Like, I think if you're a home sewist and you learn from other home sewists, I think the elastic waistband is the best way to say it. Like, we all kind of learn fold over, like, or attach it, and those two things. And really, yeah, those are it. But there's also like 6 other ways to do that, which I didn't know. And I would look at my garments that I would buy from the store, and I would say, how did they do this? How did they get this waistband in here? And these books, they taught me how to do that. So it's just really expanded the wealth of knowledge that I have. And like what I said, I hope you learn from this video, the biggest takeaway is that you don't know what you don't know. And these are like sewing school. As well, as great as YouTube University is, if you don't know what you're looking for, and if everyone around you, you're in a bit of a bubble, does it the same way, you're never going to expand your knowledge and further your skills. And I have done that thanks to all of these. I'm happy I finally made this video. I'm happy I'm finally sharing with you all of my sewing books that I love so much, and I do reference them whenever I'm trying something new, or if I just kind of want to go back and say, like, how can I make this better? These are my babies, and I love them. And I hope this video helped you. I will do my best to put all of the books in the description box. I will not have links to them because, like I said, I bought most of these secondhand, but you can find them new if you want to pay full price. Mama did not pay full price for most of them because they're expensive. I think my tailoring book was the most expensive one used. It was like $45. If you like this video, please give it a like. Comment down below, what did you think? Are you going to get any of these? I'm very excited to see what you all say. And don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one.